So everyone,
Yeah,
welcome
please.
to Good Games Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Harold, and with me, my co-host as always, Adam Issa. We're talking about Cyberpunk 2077 today, and so this is going to be a spoiler cast. So moving forward, spoilers for the story, spoilers for the game. Adam, I'll let you go first, obviously, since you already started.
Yeah. So because I got the Afterlife Legend ending, the Sun, it's called, I think. I did the Sun and Temperance, which I know you're gonna play every path and all this stuff, so I don't want to. Well, but it is a spoiler cast. See, this is the tricky part where it's like
I
I
already
don't
know
wanna...
all the endings, though.
Okay, so I did the one where I'm like heisting in space, vibing out.
Yeah.
That ending was like, to be
Yeah.
honest, like that ending was fine. Temperance was actually like a legitimately good ending, and I'll talk about Temperance and my other thoughts on the game later, because Temperance made me realize something about that game, which I don't think you're gonna like what I say, but I can't ignore it. But yeah, I really liked Temperance.
Explain what Temperance is. Is that the
Temperance
Arasaka
is
ending?
no, that's the Silverhand ending.
Okay.
Wait, so there's no way, because there's like what, 5 endings? 3 endings, 4
There's
endings?
6, I believe, 6 or 7. But there's like variations between like
It's
two
like
of them where
letting
it's
someone
like,
help you. Yeah.
yeah, it's like there's 4 different ways to go into Mikoshi. So here, I'll just lay it out the endings. Like I said, this is spoiler cast.
Yeah.
So
Don't be here.
there's the worst ending, which is you just kill yourself.
Yeah. I was shocked that they let you do that.
Yeah, it was, and
It
I
makes
didn't
sense,
obviously
yeah.
didn't go with that one. This is like from the point of like where you choose what approach you want to go into Mikoshi. So
Yeah.
there's taking the Arasaka deal.
Hmm.
There's letting Johnny do it.
That's what I did.
There's going with Pan Am and the Aldecaldos. And then there's a secret one where if you wait long enough, it lets you go in like no nothing. Like you just go in as V by yourself. If you die, you die. But if you go,
Oh, Jesus.
it just gives you a different variation because you still have alt at that point.
Yeah.
So all it is you just
It's just harder, right?
yeah, it's just a different approach. And then from there, there's the Johnny ending, which is there's only the one.
Yeah.
There's the Arasaka ending where there's 2 different variations of it. There's one where I won't go into like too much. There's 2 different Arasaka endings. There's the Pan Am and the Aldecaldos ending, which is the one I went with my first time around. And then there's the space one. So I think there's like and then there's the killing yourself. So there's 6 endings.
Okay.
There's the one that you're talking about where you go into space and you do like a heist of some sorts.
Yeah. You vibe out.
Yeah. So
you're just like cracked at space heisting.
Yeah. So there's 6 endings. You said you got the space one and the Johnny one.
Yeah. So the space one is it's called the Sun, and it's like become an Afterlife Legend.
Okay. And so essentially what I gathered from all that is like, and this is like a matter of opinion. There's the good ending, like the best ending, which is I think what I got. Then there's like the good ending, which is what you got with the space heist. Then there's the Arasaka endings, which are mixed opinions, the Johnny ending, and then the worst ending.
Johnny ending is the goated ending, though.
The 4 in the middle are like all debatable, I think. But the way they treat the final like messages and everything, which I really like, by the way. They treat.
I got
the Johnny
all good.
Ending.
Yeah, that's true. I got all good messages when I did the Sun. Like everybody was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, weird. But since for some reason we started at the end with this, let's
that's
kick
just because That's the first thing I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's the most recent thing.
Let's kick it back. So let's go to what you started with for your life path.
I did Street Kid.
Okay, so I'm going through my Street Kid path right now.
Yeah.
My second time through. I did Nomad. What was your reasoning for going with Street Kid? And like what did you put your first couple of points into?
I only put I only put points into body and reflexes basically the entire
Okay,
time I played the campaign.
gotcha. So you
So
were
my
just
guy,
basically you were really strong and you had good abilities with guns and stuff.
guns. Who was using
Reflexes?
guns? I
Were you
was
just
using
using your fists?
blades.
Oh, the blades. Okay, I got you.
I'm not gonna lie though. At the end of the game, my guy died at like 2 hits, and it made me
Yeah.
really annoyed.
What
And
difficulty
I
did you play on?
hard.
Hard.
Uh,
Yeah, hard is. I'm scared to go in and try to do my 100% playthrough on the hardest difficulty because I'm worried.
because my thing is like I built him tanky. He was
Hmm.
tanky, and
Yeah.
also I mean it was weird because it was like playing Ghost Runner. If anybody knows what that game was, it's like this weird parkour. It came out this year.
Yeah.
This very cool parkour game where it's like you die in one hit, but you kill everything in one hit.
Hmm.
That's what playing Cyberpunk felt like to me because it's like nobody like I killed everybody in one hit. Also, the
Yeah.
Mantis Blades are kind of trash. They're
Okay.
very cool, but they're kind of trash. Cause like,
I really like the gorilla arms.
yeah, the gorilla arms are cool. My thing with the Mantis Blades is that, and I think this is a glitch. This we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But like every time, because I was so strong with the blade stuff and like did so much damage that it would always do this like the animation where they go like up. Number
Yeah.
one, that animation breaks 90% of the time. Like more times it breaks than it doesn't break. And number two, it takes forever. And then number three, sometimes it breaks bad enough that they just shoot you in the animation and you just die,
You just
which
die.
is
Yeah.
very annoying.
Right.
So I ultimately just started using a katana towards the end of the game. And like, again, it was just like, I remember, so in Arasaka Tower, there's like that platoon of robots that walks down the bridge after you go through the elevator. And I remember just double jumping into them and just light slashing all of them and just being done in 5 seconds.
That's
And I
sweet
also
though.
remember beating it was sweet. I remember beating the Atom Smasher fight in like 15 seconds because I was just on
Wow.
top of him. I had the Militech thing where it like gave me like I had like 700 health
Okay.
at the end when I used the Militech thing, and I slowed down time and I just sliced that and smash her up. So it was like,
Nice.
I mean, it was cool. It made me feel badass, but yeah, it was. I don't know. I had a good time. Like again, like you don't put 50 hours into a game and have a good time and not have a good time, right? But like,
Right.
I mean,
I
the
think
best
we
part for
should.
me was the story. So yeah, we're all over the. I'm all
No,
over.
we're not all over the place, but I think
I'm all over
what
the
we
place.
should do though is preference this. Um, you know, there and we're a week into it now. This is essentially the game came
Yeah.
out Wednesday night of last week, so yesterday night. The game on PC is supposedly the best version that you could possibly
Oh
play,
yeah.
with the least amount of bugs. However, um, I believe you're playing on Xbox Series X, right, Adam?
Series X. Yep.
I am also playing it on Series X. We're both running into bugs and such. I'm running into more bugs. You know, you texted me that one night and asked me about bugs. I honestly, my first playthrough was not that bad. My second
Mhm.
playthrough, however, is a little bit worse compared to that.
Maybe it's just
Um,
Street Kid.
maybe,
It
but
breaks
and
something.
then on the current gen consoles of Xbox Ones and PS4s, the game is just basically unplayable. It's
It's not a
unplayable.
game.
And I think to
It's a tech
have,
demo that doesn't
yeah,
work.
and I think to, for the sake of me having any credibility in what I'm going to say, because I am probably the biggest, like, between the two of us at least, I'm probably
Yeah.
the person who won. I hyped this game up more than anyone. Two, I also think The Witcher 3 is by far the best game I've ever played. So I have a huge like fling for CD
Like
Projekt Red.
CDPR, yeah.
Yeah. But I will preference this just to somehow build credibility in some way before I talk about my feelings for the game. This game should not have come out this year. It should have probably been delayed another year. I think when you play the game and you watch back on demos of prior, versions of the game where you can wall run with the Mantis Blades and do other stuff, you can use the what was the thing at the very beginning of the game called the little robot thing that you're supposed to use for the heist.
Yeah,
Um,
the drone.
yeah, you're supposed to be able to use that throughout the game.
Yeah.
There's not supposed to be 5 different reflexes, cool, whatever, like, there's
Intelligence, cool, reflexes, body, and technical.
yeah, technical. There's only supposed to be three. From what they told us in the beginning, it was supposed to be you can choose, like, it's like your life path. You choose if you want to be a techie, which that's where like technology comes from, body or a net runner. And
Because
so like they broke
weirdly
it
enough,
down
intel and technical ability always felt like the same. Like they felt like they should overlap in terms of the
into
world.
dialogue and
You know what
stuff.
I mean? Yeah. So it's like,
Yeah,
sorry.
and so anyways, yeah, I mean, you can just tell that like when you play this game, there are things that like if you followed it as closely as we did, like there are things that they showed us and they talked about that we originally thought were going to be in the game. Then later down the line, they would tell us that, oh, it's not going to be in the game.
Or
They're
not at
taking it
launch at
out.
least and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
And then you get to this, they're delaying it. They delayed it. Adam, I completely forgot that originally it was supposed to come out in 2018, right? Like
Yeah. 20.
sometime in 2018. And then they delayed it till April of 2019. Then they delayed it again into September of 2019, delayed it again into November of 2019, and then finally the release date of December 10th. And this game is like, you know, it essentially broke like people's expectations of like how much it would sell and everything. Like it reached a wide variety of people.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know that it was unexpected. This game was so hyped up. So maybe it was expected, but you know, what they showed us in the time of the last 2 months, our opinions of CD Projekt Red like swayed from, they were someone who was really well respected with everything they did for The Witcher 3 with,
For
DLC
yeah.
that wasn't not the like big expansions, but stuff that you could get like gear packs and hairstyles and stuff like that. And that was like in the time of like when Battlefront 2 was
Yeah.
what's it called, doing microtransactions and
Making you
such.
pay for Darth Vader. Yeah.
Yeah, and so essentially like they had a lot of good faith built up. And then in the matter of 2 months, with the whole crunching story going on, they start to lose it there. And then the week before, or like 2 weeks before, they show PlayStation 4 and Xbox One console previews of the game. And essentially, I think they straight up just lied, is what happened there. I think they
One X
used that.
stuff was not real.
Yeah, I think it's either they use the One X, like the highest standard of the Xbox One consoles, and the PS4 Pro, the highest version of the PS4, and showed the tiniest amount of gameplay at the highest setting with the correct setting set.
Yeah.
Because even I learned, I've set a couple of settings differently now, and it runs and looks a lot better than like my first playthrough, and so it's just like they and it's not to the whole CD Projekt Red. It's the developers should not be getting any flack because this is a game that
they're amazing. Honestly,
Yeah.
like the ambition here, the even the technical know-how, like what they accomplish is incredible, or what they accomplished in the amount of time that I presume they had and on the rush that they had and all this stuff is incredible. Like they made a super compelling story, like super top level. Like I really love the story. I really love the characters. I really like the quests. There's some problems I have with them, but like those are like creative differences, you know what I mean? Rather than the game being broken. This it's all the management. It's all the corporate people at CDPR.
Yeah, and you know me, Adam. I mean, I've been following this game, and I know I read all like the majority of the articles that came out day one. I was really hyped up. Everyone was like praising it and everything. But even I was telling you, I was trying to get an access code through the Lantern and everything, and I received like the message saying like, hey, we're gonna try to get you guys like a thing, but we might not get it to you. We're not gonna get it to you. We're potentially not gonna get it to you to the day of release. I'm like, what's the like why? Like,
why? What's up with that? Yeah.
And so we get to the day of release and people are like losing it because the game just does not function. My point with this is just like there needs to be more people in terms of like, because this is a money grab. This was a money grab by the people at the top.
You touched on this, but number one, their marketing was incredible in the sense that like they made the biggest grift of all time. I like the thing is like a lot of people like you and I'm like this, like you shouldn't come into games with expectations, but when they're like, this is gonna change games, you know what I mean? Like that was their
Yes.
whole thing. They're like, it's gonna
Yes.
be the newest new form of video gaming and Western RPG. We're moving Western RPGs forward. When in reality, it's like it's just
It's a culmination
Cyberpunk
of a lot.
Fallout. Like
It's a
it's a yeah, you're right. It's a combination of all these old things, but it's realistically like, and I don't know if you feel this way. I don't think it does a lot. It doesn't do anything new, not really. In the sense of like, there's not a lot of innovation in game design here. That's okay.
mhm,
Like that's fine. It's really good. Like at what it does for the most part,
mhm.
but they sold out all their goodwill to make a couple of bucks, and it's like what it's so baffling to me when like I was never like super hard on the CDPR as the good guys thing because they're a
Mhm.
giant corporation, but like when so many people think that, how do you kind of mess it up
Yeah.
by botching your launch this hard? And like they overpromised so hard on like
Mhm.
what was going to be in the game, and they just it's so greedy. And
Yeah.
it's so unfortunate that like this is like I would much rather right now just be talking about the story and what we did, but like this is the story of what this game is,
Yeah.
and it's going to be the story for what this game is, even when the bugs are fixed. It's the same thing with Battlefront 2. We're super familiar. Battlefront 2 ended up being an awesome game that we
Yeah.
played a lot of and we really enjoyed, but the general public at large still sees Battlefront. I mean, you mentioned it yourself like 10 minutes ago. Battlefront 2 is tainted. And I hate to be the to say it, but Cyberpunk 2077 is tainted in a way
Yep.
that I really wish it wasn't, because I still think there's a lot of really like I'm not super duper hot on it, but I still think it's a really good game that deserves to be talked about and to be looked at. And what they accomplished with Night City is really interesting, and what they did with the story is incredible, and what they did with the characters is incredible. Like those are my two big things, and I love talking story and characters. And it's like I honestly feel like we have to preface it or we can't talk about it, because it's like that's not the story of the game right now. The story
Right.
of the game is how they grift us.
That's and I want to state that, you Adam can attest to how much like hype I put into this game, like
You
legitimately.
were so ready. You
I
loved
was
it.
so
This was going to be your thing.
I think I and to be honest with you, this is like something that like I could tell like maybe a year or two ago. I like think I almost put you off on this game. Like not off like in terms of
A little
like
bit,
get
a
this
little.
game.
I'm
I
not
was
gonna
like
lie.
you
Yeah.
like
I was
I was
like,
like
oh my
pushing you
god, there's
away
so
from
much
it.
hype. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so like my thing about it is like you're absolutely right. It's super tainted. And the one thing that I can't remember because I didn't play the game when it launched was apparently The Witcher 3 came out and it was also buggy.
It was pretty buggy.
Not to the
Not,
extent that it
yeah.
is on with Cyberpunk. But there is just so many like thought processes that I have with this game and like, good, bad, whatever it may be, it's never gonna change the fact that the way it launched is going to forever taint how people look at it. It could a year from now be completely patched. They already have their two big patches that they have for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 planned
Yeah.
out. It's never going to change the fact, and like we're going to talk about our game of the years in a later podcast that's going to take place like in an hour after this, but
Dropped back the curtain. No.
yeah, but the game awards next year, it was one of those things where like, oh, we were talking about game of the year this year,
Yeah.
and we were like, oh, Cyberpunk's not going to make it because it doesn't make the like
It
cutoff
did
date.
make the cutoff, yeah.
It did or didn't?
Didn't make the
Yeah.
cutoff, yeah. Sorry.
And so we're like, all right, well, it's probably gonna be in the contestant for next year. I honestly just don't think that this game should like be in the running for any awards. Like it's not. Like at some point, there's got to be some sort of action taken at the higher ups of like big game, like AAA studios,
Mhm.
in terms of not just like launching games early, but also forcing developers to crunch and do things that are, unhumane and such like that.
Yeah.
And, I can go on and on about like what everything that's wrong. They shouldn't have launched this game on Xbox One and PlayStation 4s. That's a money grab. It's a money grab for them because they know
there's
the majority of consoles are
175
PlayStation
million.
4s.
Yeah. There's 175 million out there, or I mean, collectively. You know what I mean? Like, there's like close to 200 million Xbox Ones and PS4s, and they just wanted the money. And I also feel like while they just wanted the money, it's also the thing of you announced this in 2013.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to be like, we're not releasing it on these things that everybody owns. Sorry. Like I agree it's a money grab, but I also agree that like they sort of locked themselves into this with
Also,
how long.
Also, the launch dates were out before the next gen consoles were ever had release dates for their times. So I was confused in the sense of like,
that's a good point. It was never going to come out on next gen. It wasn't supposed to at first. It was supposed to come out in April.
Yeah. So at what point does this game that you're showing us, the 2018 version, like what you're playing this on PC? Okay, well then what is it like? You have to show at some point what it's going to look like on the consoles, on the majority of what people are going to play this game on. But like you're right,
which I don't think we ever saw. Like I don't think we
No.
ever saw it running on an Xbox One or a PS4.
Yeah, and
ever.
And like just to like kind of wrap it up, like the Faith is like, I'm still going to support them because like I'm not gonna like shit on what the devs did, because it's not their fault. It's absolutely not their fault. But there need to be more people.
There's so much love in this game too. There's so much like passion and love like poured into this game. Like, and you can tell by the quests, like some of the quests and some of the like it's real stuff. Like there's real good stuff in there. And it's you're right. It's just so sad that it's just like
this has got to be like half the talk that we're having for this episode. It's like us
more. We're gonna like circle like realistically, like so many of my thoughts are predicated on like how this game operates and works, and it's really sad.
Yeah. But I just think, and to wrap this up, this section of it for at least right now, there just need to be more devs at the head of like what's going on with games and releasing. Obviously, like this is gonna be, and if you want to take some good out of what this botched launch does, is that other game industry or other studios and game in the game industry should take note of what just happened. Like Halo is like the biggest name that comes to my mind right now. It's like they've already delayed the game.
They delayed a full year.
Yeah, like, they don't have a date. Like they haven't. They
said fall 2021, and I guarantee if it's not ready, it's going to get delayed again.
Yeah, and I think moving forward, it's going to be a process of like, because people are gonna. I think that the promise of Halo Infinite right now is that it will run on Xbox One and everything. And maybe that's one of the things that's holding them back. Who knows? It's going to be a problem moving forward for a lot of games, for PlayStation and for Xbox, trying to get games that people want to, push the boundaries with graphics or whatever it may be with the world they're trying to build. It's going to be a problem, but unless you start saying these things are exclusive to the next gens, then you got to find a way to make them work, and you got to listen to your devs, and if they need time, give them the time, and kind of don't just like go be money grabbers, because that's what this was. So.
I mean, that's like it's literally they just wanted it out before Christmas. They wanted it out before the holiday because that's like a really hard backstop for a lot of corporate people. A lot of the fucking lingo has invaded. I started saying preem by accident.
I love preem.
Yeah, preem is actually kind of good. But yeah, I mean, let's honestly gonks. Gonks. Yeah, I've not called anybody a gonk yet, thank God. But
I can't wait to call Ricky and Danny gonks.
A gonk, freaking gonk. All right, but let's talk about the story. Because honestly, that's the best part of this game for me. And I sort of motioned at it earlier, but like I have enough issues with the open world that I kind of wish this game was a little bit linear. Like, because honestly, the best parts of this game for me is when we're doing cool missions, and like my favorite part of this game is like seeing Silverhand's like how he died and going into Arasaka Tower, because it was like I don't know why, but like I really like that part. And
did you like Keanu Reeves' acting in this game?
Oh, I loved it. He's so good. I've heard other opinions, but
Mixed,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I think he's amazing. I think he really kills it. And I also, it's weird because I started to dislike V's voice actor towards the end. I played as a male V.
Okay, same
He
here.
started to grate on me a bit. I was just kind of like, I don't know. It felt I can't really place it, but it like towards the end of the game, I was just like, stop talking. I don't know why. I thought he was very good at the start and the middle, and it was just like really towards the end where I was like, please stop. And maybe it was something with his accent or tone. But I don't know. Keanu felt so genuine.
Hmm.
And just really good and cool, like so cool. And I loved all of this stuff with Johnny Silverhand. And that's like the biggest thing I could take away is that like botched launch. I don't super like the open world, but goddamn, I really love Johnny Silverhand, and I would be okay with like more Silverhand somewhere.
Hmm.
I really love Johnny Silverhand, and like Pan Am I really love, and like there's a lot of characters that I really love. And again, it's like they killed that part of The Witcher. Like it's the same as The Witcher, you know? A
Yeah,
lot of really great story character quests that they just absolutely nail. And
yeah,
that's the best part of the game. Like that's where this game absolutely shines. And I wish they did more of that, you know?
yeah. So for me, I love the game. Honestly,
Mhm.
like if I take the bugs out of this game, like if it runs like perfectly and it's not buggy, it's up there for me, man. Like
Yeah.
I love everything about it. I love the story. I love V's male actor. I'm going through the female V right now. And she's good, but I just think the like male V kind of like fits the story a little bit more,
Hmm.
especially with Johnny. I think it just works a little bit better. Um, but the characters are so damn good. Like Jackie, I really like Jackie. I really like Pan Am. Pan Am's probably the best. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Other than
finding
Johnny for me, yeah.
yeah, I'm finding
I would
out
agree.
that even like both like with the male and female V, like she is by far like the best character in the game, probably.
Hmm.
Um, my Judy's great too. There's a lot of other characters within that are very well portrayed and everything. My one, Johnny's good. I like that he interjects even into like the
Yeah.
smaller stuff, like into the side quests and
Keanu
everything.
did a lot of recording.
Yeah, which was very surprising. The story for me, I think I just personally really loved like what I interpreted the like theme of the story was, because at the beginning it's like interchanging. It's like, all right, you have act one where you're trying to make it into the big leagues, you're trying to become a legend in the city. And
Yeah.
then in act two, it's like, well, oh shit, like you're dying, like you're starting to die.
Hmm.
And you're still in this phase of like, all right, like there's still time to figure this out. And also, if I can just preference this as well, this game doesn't fix the common issue of RPGs and like the ticking time bomb of their stories. Like the whole idea that like, oh, you're dying, like
Yeah.
never, like I just fuck off and go do
And I skip
side
time for
quests.
a week because I'm trying to trigger a quest.
Yeah. Like that doesn't, like, it's like Mass Effect 3, it's
Yeah.
like any other Dragon Age Inquisition, it's like any other RPG that I could really think of. I think the only RPG that I can remember playing where like it felt necessary to go do side quests in order to like also make sense with the main story is Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
Um Maybe something else. I'm sure you probably have something in mind, but in Act 2, I'm like, all right, what are we progressing to? Because is this just like a race against time, or like what is like the feeling? What is the theme of this? And like you start to talk to Pan Am and you start to talk to Judy, and like they each have their kind of like own little bubble of like what's going on in their worlds,
Hmm.
and it reflects into what's going on with V. And what I end up taking it at in the second act is like, oh shit, like what is like your biggest fear in the world? Is it being remembered? Is it dying? Is it just like straight up like being afraid to die? Is it like who are people going to remember you as? Are you going to turn into someone people don't like? And I think at the end of the game, the messages are really like what kind of hit that thing on, like hit that point on the nail, hammer in a nail, whatever. I don't know what that expression is. I
Nail
can't
on
think
the
right
head.
now. Nail on the head.
I kind of left you in no man's land there for a bit when I
I
knew.
was
I'm
I was
sorry.
trying to think.
That's
I was
on
like
me.
trying to think of it, but
I know you're processing a lot.
I think the ending for me, and I always like, I don't really like take too many chances with like choices I make. Like I always try to
Yeah.
think of like doing what like I would do in the
Yeah.
situation and do like the
Just
good guy
like
kind of
gut
thing.
reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, I ended up with the ending that I got with Pan Am, and I was super jazzed. I was like, this is probably like the best ending that I could have gotten. I go through and I figure out, okay, like, yeah, that's the ending like I would want my first time going around. The other endings are interesting because they still play through the theme of like, all right, you want to become a living legend? All right, you're going into outer space and pulling one of the biggest heists ever.
Which kind of made me sad because they like designed outer space, and I was like, let me do the fucking heist. Like make it permadeath, fine. But if I win, I fucking win, dude.
Yeah.
And you gotta show me what the deal was, and like, cause like that was the thing that like kind of like I was like annoyed with that ending. It's like, guys, like I get what you're like, I get that it's not that important,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also a little important. Like I want to know what V is doing. Like I get that he was just like again, it's like all about going down in a blaze of glory. Like that's how you get your drink and all that. But yeah, I was just like, come on, I want to be in space,
Yeah. But if I have to, so like if I'm like being really long-winded, this game's a 10 out of 10 for me. I think a lot of it, I'm not gonna like, and I say it's a 10 out of 10. I'm saying this in the preference if there's no bugs, it's a 10 out of 10. You'll find out later where I have it in my game of the year and everything like that.
I'm excited.
And I'm sure in a year's time, when patches are through, the next gen console versions are in, it'll still resonate with me and it'll still feel that way. I really love the gunplay. I think the guns just feel really good. I like smart weapons a lot. I'm a huge fan of the gorilla arms, the cyberware stuff that you can install, that can help you out a lot in certain situations. The blades, I'm not like a huge fan of. Like the melee weapons in general, I'm not like a huge fan of. The gorilla arms are probably like my favorite melee weapon that I have. But the guns just feel so good. And then the thing with driving, and from what I've gathered, the thing with driving is it sucks if you don't ever upgrade your car. Like if you don't go out and you buy a car, like
it kind of sucks when you also upgrade your car, because
really,
so there's that free, so the Caliburn is the best car in the game, right? And there's that free one, and I got it pretty early on. I think driving cars just sucks, period.
Really?
I think motorcycles are a bit better.
Yeah, the motorcycles are the best.
Yeah, but honestly, like I tell you, like driving that Rayfield was like difficult. It was like driving on ice. It was like GTA 4, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, like the motorcycles are fine. They're kind of fun, but the cars are a little rough.
I really like the motorcycles because I feel really good like when I'm going full tilt and I need to hit like a turn. The power sliding with the bikes feels really
nice. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
And you can bob in and out of traffic with the motorcycles, which is really nice. I have the Rayfield as well.
That. Yeah.
But I think I have like not like a nomad car, but I have a car that I got from saving a person in a race with Claire and everything.
I did the other thing, so I have the Beast.
Yeah, so I have the Beast and the other one, the dude's car that's like, kind of like tricked out. It's kind of got like it's kind of like a nomad car in the sense that like it's tricked out. It's kind of got like tread wheels and stuff like that, and so it handles a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that with like the nomad vehicles are like they handle a lot better because of their traction and stuff. Which I just figured out like, all right, like if I want to get somewhere and like actually be able to get there without crashing or like spinning out or something, I'm just going to take one of those cars.
Yeah.
So
like it's weird because like I think the driving works when you're not sending it full tilt, but it's like who the hell wants to do that? Like, why would you make it so it's like, yeah, the driving's good when you're not having fun? And I'm like, well, like all those races for Claire, which is like a side quest, is like they're fun and fine, but it's also like I didn't want to ever lose them, so I was just like I held like the trigger like this. I was just like doing this. Like I never put it down all the way, and I would always like let it go for turns and be like super ginger because I never wanted to spin out or crash. And like the driving works in that regard, and like that I didn't crash, and that it handled semi reasonably, but like that's not like realistically that's not fun. I
Right.
want to throw my trigger down and
200 miles per hour.
yeah, exactly. Go around every corner. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
No, but just we're talking about the gameplay and stuff now at this point, and so like I think the gunplay is like some of the best that I've like played in recent memory. The being a net runner, I haven't gotten too much into, in the sense that I don't use it. Like if I start shooting at people, I don't go into like the trying to sabotage people. But when I'm like stealthing and stuff, I really get into that. I really do use a lot of that with my stealth. And so I think that's really nice.
I did too until I got an OS that just didn't have any RAM. Like I got this Militech OS that like
slows down the time.
Gave you a shit ton more armor, gave you a shit ton more health. It was called Berserk, and if you double jumped and then landed, it would like make a shockwave that also didn't work ever. So that was like kind of cool, but it also then felt like I was like, oh, so I'm just not going to use this part of the game anymore, which is like, I guess cool, but I was like, I did use it, even though I was only blades and melee and like tanky, I did actually use it. So I was like, that's a little disappointing, but I mean, I chose to do that. It's not like
Yeah. I think with that though, that's like, and that's probably where, my biggest thing comes into play is like, there's so much replayability in this game. So much, like
you can change your gameplay up entirely.
Yeah. And even with the story, like I just did the Voodoo Boys mission again. And so the first time around, I let the Netrunner wipe them out of like my systems and everything, and they're all pissed at me. But also when you go to meet Alt Cunningham, like the Netrunners are there. And then the second time I shut the dude down. I like didn't let him do anything. The Voodoo Boys just start murdering Netrunner or Netwatch through like a connection link, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I did.
But they also think I'm dead. Like they think like, okay, like we're gonna fry you out and everything. So you go through and like Placid's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And Brigitte's like, whatever, like we still need to talk to him or whatever. But instead of like coming out or going into the alt thing, and Netwatch like comes in and kills all the Voodoo Boys, they're just like, when you get out of the tub and everything, they're just like, all right, leave. Like,
yeah,
we're not gonna.
I killed them.
Oh really?
Yeah, after because I was like, fine, I'll ignore it when Placide did it. He tried to throw me up on a platter and kill me. Fine. I'm barely okay with this. I almost killed Placide. And then she was like, yeah, we used you as bait for a second time. And I was like, okay, fuck you. And then I killed all of them with my swords. Yeah.
Yeah, but so in that first playthrough, when I come out, like all the Netrunners for the Voodoo Boys are like dead in the chairs. And so they're hunting me. And at the end, you have to have the boss fight with Placide. But if you go the other direction and you don't like you don't do anything like you do, where you go and you murder them with the swords. You walk out, and Placide's like right by the door, and I just like antagonized him a little bit because it was like, so you thought you were gonna off me, huh?
He has a really good jacket. That's the issue. You need to kill him. He's got a good jacket and a good shotgun, so you gotta kill him.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Sorry.
But so no, I'm finding that with the game, like there is a ton of replayability in the certain situations. Like I don't know if like that will come back and do anything in the long run. I don't.
That's kind of my big issue. Is like I don't feel like a ton of my choices were super far-reaching, if that makes sense. Like I feel like the most far-reaching one is that I killed the Maelstrom leader at the very beginning, and that there's a mission with Carrie
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they like fight you because you
Did
killed
you
them.
free the dude, the other
I couldn't
boss?
figure it out,
Okay.
so I didn't. Because
Okay.
I felt like I had to have a high intelligence or technical stat, a high technical stat to open the door, and I obviously
Okay.
didn't. So I was just like, okay, goodbye. I wanted to because I was like, ooh, this could be good, but
Right. I think if you do that, it offsets. I don't know yet
I
because
see because he becomes
because
the leader.
in my first one, I also offed the Maelstrom guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the second one, I let them do whatever. We were buddy, but I also let go. I got through the door and let the other boss go. So I'm interested to see how that mission plays out.
Yeah,
Later on. Um, with the Voodoo Boys, we'll see how it goes. I know that there's, a part of Judy's mission that you can take it a different way. That might give you a different uh, ending to that. I don't know that
well, if
there's
you're playing
anything
as female V, you could get quite a few different endings with Judy, from what I understand.
really
Oh, she's
interesting.
lesbian. Yeah,
Well, yeah, I know that, but
yeah.
like, I just didn't know like that there's like different endings with her. My thing is like there's like the quest where you take over the clouds. There's like a
Mhm.
couple of different ways it can go down, and so like there's a couple of
Guy,
different ways that
come
she
on,
will react.
guy like me, I
Um,
just killed everybody. That realistically, whenever I had
I
a pretty
also killed
large
everyone.
choice, I'm just like, if they're annoying me, I'm for the most part just like, just get out of my game. I'm wiping you off the face of the earth. Like don't annoy me. Like I was very petty in that regard. I was just like, you annoyed me? All right, death, jail.
Yeah, for the majority of the game though, I would always try to like do dialogue stuff, try to like
Yeah.
make sure that I wouldn't get into those situations. But what was the other? I don't think there's anything with Pan Am that you can do to really like. And I don't know yet. I mean, I could try, but I don't really feel like screwing on anything up with her in the
From
second
what
one,
I
at
understand,
least.
if you just don't agree with her enough, she'll ultimately be like, eh, you
Just
know,
like piss
like if
off.
you are like, because like apparently like if you're a yes man for her, she'll basically always romance you. But if
Okay.
you're not, she'll become annoyed with
Hmm.
you. If it's from what I understand.
Gotcha. See,
Yeah.
I was thinking like if they wanted to make like a significant jump with her character, it would be like either she goes back to the clan or she doesn't.
Hmm.
Which I don't
Yeah.
know that that's in there. Um,
Not really, because my ending, I had Panam with me, and it's like I was like asking her to stay in the city with me, and she's like, "Nope, I gotta go."
right,
Yeah.
right. So, um, I don't know. I really just there's so much of this game that is like I said at the top, it's like a
Mhm.
culmination of so many different games. Like there's kind of like the Batman aspect with the analyzing crime scenes and such and
Yeah, the
finding
brain dance. Yeah,
the brain dances and such. I think the brain dances is okay. It's not like
it's fine. Like I don't
yeah,
think it's that. I'm glad they don't make you do it too much. Is all I'll say. Like if
yeah,
I'm glad it's like a like kind of like thing that we come back to every 10. Like I think I did like 5 brain dances. You
yeah,
know, and that's a good number. I
yeah.
would be okay if there was less. I would not be okay if there was more. If that makes
If
sense. There you go.
my thing with that is if it gave you like things that were optional that were hidden within
Mhm.
there,
It
like if
kind
you
of just
could
shows you.
search.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if it really made you work for it and you got something
Or it
out
was like
of
a
it,
puzzle.
right? A puzzle or like something that you find and you're like, oh, like I can use this when I go into this place or
That's a good
whatever.
point. Yeah.
That would have made a lot of sense. But there's so many just like different aspects of this game that are just like they take from some of the best games that were throughout this decade, like Fallout. Like this is like pretty much a Fallout game at the core of it.
I'll get into it when you're done, and I'll give my like thoughts. Yeah,
Yeah, but I just think like you were right when you said like it doesn't really do anything super new.
which is okay.
Yeah,
you know.
and there's a lot of reason to why it probably doesn't do anything new with everything we talked about before.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like for me, the two biggest things that I put my um feelings and my thoughts into are story and characters. And if you hit me on those two and the gameplay is good to above average. The game's probably going to be like pretty high up in my mind for the most part. Like we'll get into the game of the year and for like our top 6 games of this past year, and that's what you'll probably get out of me for the majority of like my reasoning for having these games listed so high. But I think that like moving forward, and this is probably like me just wanting to talk more about the end game. So I want you to talk about your thoughts first, and then we can get into a little bit of discussion about the end game, because I think you wanted to say something about Johnny's ending.
Yeah. So you sort of, like you said, it was like a 10 out of 10 for you. You really liked it. I am a bit more negative on it. I think it's good, not great. I think that, and I'll preface this by saying, like, we did a when we first tried to do the podcast forever ago, we did a like our favorite games of all time. And if you know me, like, I am a guy who likes to see this media move forward. And when I give a game something usually higher than like an 8, it's because it's taking a stride. You know what I mean? It's doing something I haven't seen before, or it's doing things so well that it's like, it's like perfecting the old techniques. With this game, I'm sort of like, I'm like at a 7, if that makes sense. Cause like, number one, it's broken in a lot of ways, and that's rough for me. And the other thing is like, and I thought about this so much while playing it, is that I like Night City, but as a game map, I have a lot of issues with it, in the sense that so much of it just kind of looks the same. You know what I mean? And they do a good job of differentiating some places. Like the Badlands obviously looks different from the rest of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically Japantown looks different from the rest of the city. But like, the world, and I know a lot of people have said this, but the world doesn't feel like super alive to me. And I think part of that is because it's like, I kept comparing this game to like Fallout 3, because I feel like that's like the blueprint for this game in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Because like you said, this game is sort of just like the omega culmination of all these Western RPGs. If Bethesda Softworks made this game, if you told me they made this game, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it is very much a Bethesda. It's in the style of Fallout. It's in the style of Skyrim. They took that blueprint and they ran with it, which is fine. Obviously there's more stuff with it, like very Witcher quests, which is the best part.
Yeah.
But the world is like, and I get the point is that it's super dense and stuff, but there's no like room to breathe. And like I thought about this a lot, because like the Fallout 4 world or Fallout 3 world is much smaller than this world, right? Or much bigger rather. And you're walking a lot and there's a lot of empty space, but that empty space gives so much meaning to the landmarks. Because like that's what I kept thinking, is that I don't know any landmarks in the city. Not really.
Right.
I know the cool cherry blossom part of Japantown and the Joy Toy part of Japantown. Like, like that misty thing with the dildo shops and all that.
Yeah,
like,
Jig Street.
Yeah, Jig Street. And I couldn't tell you, like, at Corpo Plaza. And I honestly can't even visualize Corpo Plaza. But and other than that, it's like I cannot tell you landmarks of the city, because it's all giant skyscrapers, which is the point. But it's also like that is not it's not conducive to the game world that I like kind of like to explore. The other part is that when you explore, you don't really like the AI, like, and the people aren't reactive to you really, like realistically, unless they're part of a quest. So I kind of found myself just running to a quest. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really care to ever like what's down that corner, because it was like it's more city and there's not going to be anything really cool for me. So I don't see the point in doing it. And that was ultimately like, for me, that was like the thing that I was like, damn, I wish they had pulled that off. You know what I mean? Like that was the one, that's my biggest criticism. Like you said, take out bugs and all that. That's still the core part of the game that I have an issue with. Is I don't think the world is as good as it should. I don't think the game world is as good as it should be. I think the world, the storytelling world, the story setting are awesome. I think the universe we're in is really cool. Like like the guns I love, the characters I really like, the kind of thematic things that it tries to tackle, like the thematic issues it tries to tackle with corporations doing this stuff, and greed, and like who you are, and all these things, and like identity is a huge part of this game, and technology. Like that stuff's really cool. And the net space, but like actually physically exploring the game world, I felt was a little underwhelming in the sense that, and I also think that the game wasn't ready in the sense I don't think any of the characters have AI. Like any of the pedestrians have AI. When I keep seeing clips of you shoot a gun, everybody ducks, you turn around, you turn back around, they're all gone.
Yeah.
It immediately unloads. Like and same with cars, and none of the characters in this game know how to fucking drive. None of the AI in this game know how to drive. It's bad. Like they're like crashing into shit and yeah, like all that kind of stuff. But it's just like, yeah,
if I could just make a point
please.
about, so you're saying that like you didn't think like there was a lot of like interaction with like if it wasn't like a mission or something, like
Yeah,
you didn't
exactly.
So like so would you count the guy that's right outside of Victor's did you do his like did you go back to him and listen to him?
I listened to him and I got like text messages, but like I don't know if it's a glitch because there was a quest, right?
Yes.
And I listened to him and nothing ever came of it. So I don't know if it was glitched.
You have to do it multiple times.
Okay.
Like you have to continue to go back to him, and like I think that he has 4 to like I think it's like 4 times he like preaches to you about something. At the end of it, he's like, "Oh, you I've seen you before. Blah 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 blah. Will you give like a contribution? You give him whatever. You do. You don't." I gave him the money because it wasn't like it was like 100 eddies or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't matter.
And so I came back to him, and you know, eventually he gives you a side quest, and it lets you go and do something. And then there's at the clouds, there's a schism like machine that like it's a vending machine, and it's the same thing. It's like you talk to it, and it'll like give you a line of dialogue. And I love it. It's called Brandon. I really do love it. It's really funny. It's just really dumb because it's like it's a vending machine.
Did you do Skippy? Like super?
I haven't gotten Skippy yet. Okay. I've seen it, but I really do.
Skippy's really funny. Skippy's fun. If you like Brandon,
yeah,
I assume you'll like Skippy because Skippy's really fun.
Yeah, but that's like that's where I'm like, okay, like I can get with these. And there's also one of those side quests where like you go into like a diner and it gets holed up, and like you're like, okay.
I did that one. But see, my thing is like they just ping all these things on the map. And I'm not saying don't ping them, but like my point is like, it's never I walk into a random diner.
Yeah.
And I would have never walked into that diner unless they pinged it on the map. You know what I mean? It's like we both played AC Valhalla, right? When you kill enough bandits, they just start ambushing you randomly. Like it's stuff like that. Or there's a messenger in the world that I found that I killed, and then I found a note, and then it's like, oh, this note is telling me to do something, and I go to that place and there's treasure. Like or Red Dead, when you just get ambushed, or there's the other part is like, I know that they can't do this, is like those games had the benefit of creatures or wildlife or like large open spaces that made it like when you're traversing somewhere, there's an inherent danger that makes the world a bit more dynamic. If I don't want to ever fight somebody in Night City, that's not part of a quest. I don't ever have to. There's never any danger realistically. And it's just little stuff like that. Cause it's like, again, I played AC Valhalla and I played this. Like those are my RPGs that I played almost back to back. And like the world of AC Valhalla is more alive. Like there are more systems. When I kill something, if I watch it, well, that was Odyssey. And I can't remember if it, like, I'm pretty sure I saw it in Valhalla, but like if I kill something and watch like an animal and watch long enough, crows will come. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing like that in this game, if that makes sense. Like, and even the police, you kill a civ, a policeman just spawns 10 feet behind you, and then you run away and it's done. You know? So my thing is just cause that was always the dream, right? Of the city, and it's fully dynamic and it's fully explorable. And that's the one promise where it's like I couldn't look past it being a promise.
Yeah.
Like I usually, for the most part, I'm like, well, this is the game I'm playing. Let's judge the game I'm playing. But they promised like this fully dynamic city, and I never ultimately was able to I never felt that it was dynamic in the way that I wanted it to, or alive in the way that I wanted it to. And that was almost like the most heartbreaking part of this game to me. Because like, if it was that, I could have really overlooked a lot of bugs. Like I could have given this game a 9, but the core problem for me is the game world.
Yeah.
Again, I really love the story. Johnny Silverhand is one of my more memorable characters in gaming in recent history. Like I said, like I teared up a bit at the end of the Silverhand ending because like I was committed and invested in him as a character. And the way they handled that ending is really good. But like ultimately, I don't know if I would go back in to play the game again if I'm not just mainlining through a story thing. You know what I mean? Like
Gotcha.
I wouldn't explore to the extent that I did in Act 2, running around doing side stuff, because ultimately I know I'm just running quest to quest. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I'm not gonna find that magic that I did. Like when I first played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, when I did see the vultures come after I killed a snake, and I was just chilling and like vibing out, and I saw, and I was like, whoa, that's really cool. Or in Valhalla when I got ambushed. Not to compare, it's weird. I'm just comparing Assassin's Creed to Cyberpunk, but like, or in Red Dead, like, or in Breath of the Wild, where it's like, oh, I see a rock and there could be a Korok seed. It's not marked, but it makes me want to look at the rock. It makes me want to look at everything. And yeah, ultimately, yeah, that's my biggest gripe. Is just I really wish it was as dynamic as they had promised, and that it like was just I just wish it was really like if I shot somebody somehow, maybe their mom or dad came after me, or their brother or sister. And I know that's like really hard to do, but the other thing is I know it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not asking for something that I like. Again, you can't ask for innovation, because if you knew how to innovate, right,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be innovation. But we've seen these things in other games, and I feel like
Yeah.
in this game specifically, it would do so much for the world if people were dynamic in the way that I wanted them to be.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I feel like I'm missing is like the promise of like the the game's very vertical, I think. Like there's a lot of going up and down. Um but there's
Yeah,
not but there's not like a lot of like, like you're saying, like you could go up to like a door that looks like it's accessible and it'll just say doors locked.
I
And,
I really wish there was so much more interior space, because
yeah.
that would make the game cool. Like if I like that's the thing, right? If I went to a cool looking building, was able to go inside, that
Mhm.
would be a landmark I would remember, because I was like, oh, this inside looks cool. But the
Right.
reality is, the part of the mission with this, for example, Takamura, where you're at the little Japantown bridge
Yeah.
market. If there was more stuff like that, because that stuff, I was there and I was like, whoa, this is cool. Too bad I know it's for a mission and there's nothing actually happening here, but it looks really cool. And
Right.
that part's memorable. That part of the city is memorable to me. Um, yes, I completely agree with that. Like, if even you don't even have to change the world, obviously, because it's a city. But if there's more interior spaces that just existed as interiors, that would change a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, and so that kind of like leads me into like, we've talked about the game and everything now at this point,
Yeah,
like what it
we
is. And
we've gone for a while.
yeah, we have gone for a while, which we probably should wrap it up soon.
Yeah,
But
big
I
game
wanted to
got a lot
ask
to talk
you,
about.
we know there's going to be multiplayer, and we know that
A
there's going to
separate game,
be,
yeah, a separate multiplayer game, yeah.
but we know there's going to be DLC for this game.
I believe so, yeah.
My biggest problem with DLC with a game with this is it going to be, and this is what I hope it is. I hope it's
Mhm.
Fallout 3 DLC where you get Broken Steel and you go through
Yeah,
because it makes you save before the game ends. And the game in Fallout 3, if you don't have Broken Steel, the game just ends when you're done, and it like
yeah,
kicks you back to a save or whatever.
yeah,
That's what this one does.
yeah,
I'm hoping it lets you go through and it like you beat the campaign whatever way, and then it starts up again. I don't think that's going to be possible with this game.
hmm
I think it's going to be some sort of DLC like The Witcher, where the first one, it's not Blood and Wine, because Blood and Wine is exceptional and completely
yeah.
different in its own. But it's the other one, which
Almost
I
like a
can't.
whole other game. Like
Yeah, the other one, I can't remember what the name of it is at the
Heart of
top of my
Stone.
head. Yeah, Heart of Stone. Where it's just like it's
Gotta
a
double check that.
huge kind of story within the main story, which is like again, you just kind of go off and you do your thing, and it doesn't really affect what happens to the main story.
Hearts of Stone.
But I wanted to get your thoughts on what you thought it could maybe be, and if you think it would be possible to have a Broken Steel type Fallout 3 DLC.
I think it could be. I wonder if we get like a new part of the map. You know what I mean? Like if we got like some sort of like large map not large. If we got some sort of map expansion, like an island in the Bay of Night City or whatever, or it's tricky because the world is very big. You know what I mean? It is like very big and dense. Like
with the endings, like it's almost impossible. Like it's almost impossible.
Yeah, that's the thing. It would have to be like you do it from your save. You know, you do it from your open world save. The other thing is like the reason like Dawn Guard or which is the Skyrim DLC or Broken Steel or Blood and Wine are so it's because they radically like actually changed the game. You know what I mean? Like they changed the fundamentals of the game. I don't really know how you would change the fundamentals of this game unless you took us to a new place, because I feel like that's the only like sort of fresh air that you could inject. Because like, I mean, unless they introduce a new type of weapon or something, but I don't know that.
Even then, like I just like when I'm thinking about it, unless this in terms of like how the story would work in itself, unless they kick this game to 5 months before you're supposedly, that's my biggest gripe with the ending is like I'm like, God, like we did all that work and we're still supposed to die like in 5 months or whatever. Unless like they kick it to like 5 months and like you come back to Night City for some reason and whatever it may be. Maybe you're still in Night City, maybe you left Night City, maybe you're Johnny Silverhand and you come back and like I don't know. I'm really interested to see how and if they'll even get a DLC out. Like I wonder if like they've already like with everything that's happened, if like what they're gonna do with all that.
Yeah, because it's also like Space Heist would be cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
Something like that would be cool, but I also don't see that happening realistically. Like I don't see. I don't know how they do DLC for this game. Like it's weird because like for the most part, whenever I see like a Bethesda RPG, I'm like, oh, I could see how they'll do DLC. Like Skyrim, it's like it makes sense. They did werewolves,
it's just super
and vampires,
easy with a lot of these games. But like with Cyberpunk,
this one kind of ties itself like off in a bow. You know what I mean? Like it kind of like they throw everything at the wall in a lot of ways in the game. So it's like difficult to unless they did. But and you can't make a DLC where it's like real open world. You know what I mean? Like where they change the open world and fix the AI. Nobody's gonna want to pay for that. You need to put that in your game.
We're not gonna get DLC until 2022.
Okay. So
well, I don't know. I'm saying like that's my opinion. I'm saying like they still gotta get the bugs fixed, and then they still gotta launch the next gen versions of this game, and those are probably gonna have bugs. And I don't know, but I think we gotta wrap this up. I don't know how long we've been going now for this one, but we've almost been going for like over an hour. But anyways, what are your closing thoughts?
1 second, I did just find Sorry, I found an article where from 2 days ago, Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer DLC will be discussed early next year, but it's too early to judge what might happen with post-launch content, which means that they're probably going to delay that. But
it's multiplayer like comma DLC, right? It's not multiplayer DLC.
Yes, it's multiplayer and DLC will be discussed. So like that is single player stuff.
Multiplayer is supposed to be, I'm pretty sure, in like the distant future. I think like they're supposed to announce it, like that article says. It's like they'll talk about it, but like the DLC or the multiplayer game itself will be like 2023 or 2022, something like that.
Okay.
And the DLC for the game is just DLC.
I'm not gonna lie, this game would be cool if like it was like GTA and I could just bring you into my world or go into your world and we could just vibe out. Like I think that would go that would go a long way into making this game a little bit more fun for me and alive. Is like if I have another person just fucking around in Night City. But
I really love Night City. I understand what you're saying about.
I like the setting. I like the setting. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a problem with Night City being the setting for the game world. I have the issue with the execution. You know what I mean? Like that's my I like Night City, Like I like the idea of all these tall skyscrapers and stuff like that. I just have the issue of some of the stuff doesn't feel as alive.
I just really like the moments in the game where sometimes like it forces you to look at Night City, like just like look at it.
Yeah,
Like the one time with Judy, you're like sitting on her roof of her apartment complex, and like you're just looking into the city and everything. I'm like, wow, this place is like actually beautiful.
It's damn gorgeous.
And then you go like out into the Badlands and you find like another place where you're like just looking at Night City, the entirety of Night City, and it's like, wow, this is crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's rough, man. I mean, I love the game. I won't say that it's like, and I said it's a 10 out of 10 without the bugs.
Yeah,
for me,
but
with the bugs and everything,
Yeah,
it's
it has
like
the
8
bugs.
out of 10.
Yeah,
8 out of 10. But like again, The Witcher was one of those games where I didn't play it at launch, so I probably would have had a different opinion on it then too. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it'll be one of these things that we come back to in a year and like we talk about it in a shorter span. But
not an hour.
yeah, no. So do you got any closing thoughts before we flip it over?
I really like Johnny Silverhand. That's it. Like his ending is very good.
I'll say one thing. I'm upset that I bought that poster, and the two characters that are on there are Dexter Deshawn and Brigitte.
Yeah.
And Panam's not on there.
Yeah.
I'm upset about that.
Yeah.
But that poster is gonna be awesome. But
yeah, that poster is sick.
Yeah, I really love the characters in this game, and that will always get me. And I really do love the story. I hope that they can. I hope for the developers' sake, they can, turn this around and give
break for 2 weeks before they work them to death fixing the bugs.
Yeah, but that's not even gonna happen. So
no, that's the other part that I'm like, honestly, like, oh boy, why are you? Because that's the issue of all these bugs. It's like they're just gonna make them work harder, and that
So, but we're gonna call it there. We're gonna go into a podcast episode to. I actually tallied our Game Awards predictions and everything, and we're gonna talk about our top 6 games.
Okay, that's for the podcast. I was like, are you going right now? No.
No.
Okay.
So we'll get into that next. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. We really do appreciate it. If you can leave a like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Comments. Let us know if you played the game, what your thoughts are, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.